I'm really sorry, but this has kind of gone backwards instead of forward, so got to be out again today. I'm trying. All right, here's what we're going to work on in our fifth Animate assignment. The idea is that we're going to work on layers. You can have layers in an animation. And here are the required things today. You'll have to have at least 100 frames in your animation, so work for that. You're going to make a little bit of background scenery today. It'll be just kind of, I'll show you what it is, but it's a little scene, and that all goes on the first layer. That all goes on layer one. The idea that we're going to work with is just like a little stick figure jumping on a trampoline, just bouncing on a trampoline. So the little stick figure goes on the second layer. That's really, really important. I'm going to show you how to do it. So the background scenery goes on layer one, and the jumper, the little stick figure, goes on layer two. And today you'll have to have at least 3 jumps in your movie. Up and down equals a jump. And you'll have to kind of work these things together. You also have to have at least 100 frames. So if you do 3 jumps and you haven't done 100 frames yet, then you'll have to do some more jumps. But if you do 3 jumps and you've got 100 frames, then you're good. Okay? So I'm going to show you how to build one of these. And if you need to pause the movie and do part of the assignment, and then run a little bit more of the movie, then do some more of the assignment, do that. You do whatever you need to help get it done. All right, I'm going to go over to Animate. I'll create a new animation here. And it's going to be character animation. I'm going to use the HD setting, and I'll click Create. There we go. I'm going to pull that up some. I'm going to make my stage, what I want here is sky color, right? Because what I'm about to do is make like some scenery for this. This is going to be about a little character jumping on a trampoline. All right, so I'm going to go for like a sky blue background. Now remember, that doesn't really draw a rectangle or anything like that. It just changes the background. All right, the next thing I'm going to do is there's going to be some shapes that I'll use over here. I'm going to wind up using the rectangle tool, the oval tool. I'm going to use the line tool. I am going to use the brush tool. There's a few other things that are coming up, so just keep watching. I'm going to take the rectangle tool. When you're working with a rectangle, you'll want to look over on the right-hand side at settings for fill and stroke size. I'm going to want this to be filled with a green color. It's going to be grass, and I'm going to make the stroke also a green color, and I don't really want a very thick stroke on this, so that's fine. And I'm just going to draw a box in like the lower third of the stage area here, and it's a horizon line is what I'm doing. You can see what that looks like, can't you? That looks like grass and sky, and I've got a horizon on there, and that's what I wanted, right? So all that is a big green rectangle across about the lower third or so. It doesn't have to be exact. You just draw a rectangle across there. Now, I'm going to add a few scenery kinds of things. Exactly how much scenery you add would be up to you, but you got to have a trampoline, at least. I'm going to put a house here, so I'll keep my rectangle tool. I'm going to change the fill to red and the stroke to black. And I'm going to put a house over here. All right, I'm just drawing a box. I'm just using the rectangle tool with a red fill and a black stroke, and then I'm going to come over here and change the fill to black also, and I'm going to put a door on the house. All right, yay. Now I'm going to change the fill to a yellow color, and I'm going to stick a couple windows on the house. These are just little details, right? This is where it's up to you. You don't have to get too fancy on this, but that's not too hard right there, right? Okay, now I'm going to show you another. There's a line tool over here on the toolbar. It's right below the rectangle tool, so I'm going to come and click the line tool. Keyboard shortcut is in, so I'm going to click the line tool. And when you're working with a line, the things you want to be careful about is color and size, right? So if I look over here on the properties panel on the right-hand side, it's set to black and it's size 8, which is fine with me. So I'm going to draw a line that goes up like this. I want to put a roof on my house is what I want to do. So I'm just going to draw a line that goes up like that, and then I'm going to draw a line that connects from there and goes down to here. I'm going to try real careful to connect those because of something I'm going to do next. All right, now I think I would like to fill that line, fill that area in. I want to fill in my roof. So there's a tool for that, right? Over here on the toolbar, there's what's called the paint bucket tool. Keyboard shortcut is K. If you have an enclosed space, your paint bucket will fill that area, right? Now, if you have gaps in it, sometimes it doesn't. So you want to be careful that you don't have any gaps. But I'm going to take the paint bucket tool. When you're working with the paint bucket tool over here on the right-hand side, you've got a fill color. All right, well, I'm just going with a gray color. And I'll just fill that in. All right, cool, good. So my house is done. All right, now next I'm going to make a trampoline. All right, and again, if you don't want to do a house, don't do a house. Right? You can maybe just make the ground and then make a trampoline. And then that is enough, right? This is where you have some creative input to it. All right, I'm going to come and click and hold on the rectangle tool, and I'll get the oval tool. Not the oval primitive, just the oval tool. All right. Now, I'm actually going to stay with this. I'm looking over on the right-hand side. I've got a gray fill and a black stroke, and I'm going to stick with that. That works okay for me, but do whatever you want with it, as far as color goes. And I'm just going to draw out kind of a flattened oval like that. I don't want to really draw it like this. I don't want it to look like that. I'm going to flatten it out some, kind of like that. Looks okay to me. Now the other little detail I'm going to add on the trampoline here, some legs for it. So I'm going to go back and get the line tool once again. And I'm just going to draw a leg down like that on the ends. I'll do one each, and I'm just kind of eyeballing it here. It doesn't have to be perfect. And I'll do some on the sides. And by making some longer and some legs longer and some legs shorter, you can kind of make it look like some of the legs are closer to you and others are farther away. So you can vary the length of the legs a little bit if you want. All right, that doesn't look terrible. All right, so it's a trampoline with some legs. Cool. Now you could, feel free to add other details. What if I got the oval tool and, let's put the sun up in the sky, right? Or take the brush tool, paintbrush tool. Get my graphic tablet in place here. And maybe I want a bird. I'm going to make my brush a little smaller. It's not working for some reason. There, that's how I know to make birds, so sorry. A couple of birds flying in the sky. All right, so the details are up to you. What do you have to have in your scenery? You have to have a trampoline today. Yeah, and I do want you to work with this idea of a figure jumping on a trampoline. All right. Okay, so if we take a look at my timeline right now, I've not animated anything. My timeline, if I take a look at it with you here, it's still sitting at frame number 1. I haven't done a doggone thing as far as like adding frames, F6, F7, all that kind of stuff. Haven't added any frames, haven't made anything move, and I don't really want to make it move. This stuff is all just going to sit there. That's all. It's just scenery. That's all it is. All right. So here comes kind of the important part of the lesson. All right, watch. Down here on the bottom where you've got your timeline, on the bottom on the left where it says layer number 1, right here. This layer number 1 contains all of the scenery for the movie, the house, the sun, the birds, the trampoline. And if you want to, this is an option. I could double click where it says layer 1, and I could change what that says. I'm just going to call it BG for background. And you don't, that's naming your layer. You don't have to do that if you don't want to. If you just want to keep them layer 1 and layer 2, you can do that. But if you're one of those people who likes to be organized in certain ways, you could name your layer. All right. Now, over here on the same area, I've called it BG. You see a padlock icon up here above, and then there's kind of a ghost padlock right here. I'm going to click right there. All right, I'm showing you here. I'm going to click right there, and I'm going to lock layer 1. And what that does, I can't paint on it, I can't draw on it, I can't do anything to it. It's locked. I can always unlock it later if I decide, ooh, I need to work on that. I can always unlock it. But right now, I don't want it unlocked. I want that layer completely locked. Okay? Now you got to pay attention when you're doing this. Here comes the most important part. So now what I'm going to do, before I draw the stick figure, that's the only thing I haven't drawn yet, is the little figure that's going to jump on the trampoline. I'm going to add a new layer. And this little plus button right down here is the new layer button. All right, so I'm just going to add that. I'll just click that plus button. You'll see layer 2 pop on there. I'm going to double click where it says layer 2. And I'll just call it jumper. It's just going to be a little stick figure that bounces up and down on the trampoline is all. Okay. Now, what I'm ready to do is go back to drawing again. We've been working on down there on the timeline with the layers. So I'm going to go B for brush. And I do want this to be a little bit larger, I think. Let me test my stroke here a little bit. Let's make it a little bigger. That'll work. Okay. So now, and I'm not going to draw this all that many times. I'll show you what I'm going to do. I could draw him anywhere I want. I'm just going to draw a stick figure that I'll make neat. And I might take my flood fill bucket and just fill the head part right there. And that's up to you. You could put a face on him if you wanted to, whatever. Okay. So that's going to be my little stick figure. Now, here's the thing about this. When you use separate layers, the stick figure is on the second layer. All the house, the trampoline, all that everything is on another layer, and it's all locked. So I'm just going to take the move tool here, the selection tool. It's the black arrow over here on the toolbar. I'm going to click the black arrow. And I can just select, see what I'm doing there? I can just select that guy. Now, can I select anything like the house or the trampoline? No. Why not? Because it's locked. It's on a separate layer and it's locked. It's protected. But I can select this guy right here. When you select something, it gets these little white dots on it. All right. And then when I have it selected, I can just grab it and move it around however I want to. I can put it wherever I want. And there's a little bit more coming. All right, so here's how this is going to work. This is easy, pretty easy animation from here on. Here's what we're going to do. I'm going to tap the F6 key. This time I'm going to use the F6 trick instead of the F7 trick because I don't want to redraw anything. All right, I'm going to tap F6, and I'm going to move the character a little bit. And don't move him a lot, just move him a little. F6 again, move him a little. Keep him selected, right? He's got to be selected. F6 and move him a little. 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 Smaller movements make smoother animation. F6 and move him a little. F6 and move a little. F6 and move a little. F6 and move a little. F6, move a little. F6, move a little. See how it's working? F6, move a little, F6, move a little, F6, move a little. Whenever I press F6, it's adding a new frame to the movie, and it's bringing everything that I had with it. F6 and move a little. All right, and I'm going to tap F6 a couple of times. He's walked up to the trampoline. I'm just tap, 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 tap on F6. All right, he's just standing there right now. That's kind of what I want him to do. And now he's going to jump up. He's going to kind of fly up here. Just move him a little bit at a time. All right, tap F6 and move, tap F6 and move. All right? And so he's jumped up on the trampoline. Now, once again, I'm tapping F6 a little bit, adding some frames where he's just standing there. Now, he hasn't started his bouncing on the trampoline yet. I had him kind of walk up to the trampoline. All right, so now here we go. Let's do a jump. We're going to tap F6, and we're just going to work our way up a little bit at a time. All right. It's an alternating thing. You can't hold F6. You have to tap F6 and move the figure. And remember, the figure has to be selected. You have to select it to move it. If it's not selected and you go to move it, it might work, it might not. You might run into some trouble. So you want to select all of it and tap F6 and move it. All right, so he's up to the top, and we're just going to bring him down. All right, so he's hitting the trampoline. And now, you know, if you see me, I'm headed back up. This is my second jump. And somebody could easily be thinking, oh, wait, that's kind of like cycle motion. That's the same motion that you just did a moment ago. Couldn't you copy and paste the frames, which is what we did in the previous assignment? And the answer to that is yes, you could. It would be possible. I'm just not, because on the third jump, I'm going to do something different. All right, I'm coming back down, and so this is going to be my last jump, but I am going to do something different on this jump. All right, so we're going up. It's still the same thing so far, F6, and going up, going up, going up, going up, going up. All right, so here's where I'm going to throw in something that we haven't done yet. Maybe you found it on your own, but we haven't done it yet. Over here on the tool panel, the second tool down on the toolbar is called the Free Transform tool. The keyboard shortcut is Q. It will let you do things like take whatever you have selected and make it bigger or make it smaller or rotate it. You can spin it. And that's kind of what I want to do. I want to spin it. I want to make this guy do a flip. As he's hitting the top of this jump and he's coming down, he's going to do a flip. All right. So when I'm ready to do that, I still have to have him selected. Right? He's all selected. And I could either tap the letter Q on the keyboard, or I could click Free Transform. And you'll know when you're doing Free Transform because you get handles and all that kind of thing. And so I could, you know, I could make him, it's easy to make him bigger. I'm going to Control Z undo that. Or you can make things smaller. I'm going to Control Z undo that. But what you can do to rotate is if you carefully just kind of sneak your mouse or your pointer up on a corner of the box, right? And I hope you can see that. I hope you're looking now, because I can show you. I'll show you how you sneak up there, and you get this little rotation indicator when you're pointing to a corner as you sneak up on a corner. So what I'm going to do is rotate him just a little. I don't want to rotate him all the way. And I'll tap F6. Animation is done a little bit at a time. All right? You don't do animation like all of a sudden. It doesn't look great if you do it that way. So I'm going to rotate a little, press F6. 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 You get the idea, right? Just rotating. If you get used to the whole, you got to point to like a corner. You get that little rotation handle. You get used to it after a while. All right, so we're about to complete a flip here. And this is where, again, you get a little creative. Have a little fun with what you're doing. Uh-oh. Looks like my dude has over-rotated his flip. Uh-oh. Now you can also, when you're using, when you're using the free transform tool, you can also just grab onto an object and move it. It's also possible just to move it. So here's what I'm going to have happen. I'm going to press F6, and he's going to rotate just a little, and oh no, something bad has happened here. He looks like he's going to miss the trampoline. Oh dear. This is why parents don't want to buy trampolines. And I think I'm going to switch to the brush. No, I don't want to do that. Make sure he's not selected. We'll switch to the brush. And right when he hits the ground here, there's going to be like some impact lines. Press F6 a couple of times here. Then I'm going to use my arrow tool. You can just select things and touch delete. So I'm going to get rid of the impact lines there. Get him selected again. And I'm just going to finish this off by just kind of rotating him down. Poor guy. Missed the trampoline. Well, let's see my movie, right? Here we go. So he walks up. There's one jump, two jumps, does a flip, flies, ouch, boom. Missed the trampoline. Very tragic at the end. An unexpected ending for our friend, the trampoline jumper. All right, so once again, a little peek down here. The idea that we're working on is having a second layer. Now you'll find as you get your brain wrapped around the concept of layers, you can have lots of layers. But today, 2 will do. Put all your background scenery on layer number 1. Put your little stick figure that jumps on layer number 2. This is the kind of thing that we're working on making today. All right, off you go.